Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with another battle report. So this game was actually played a couple weeks ago. It was relatively soon after my last tournament, and although I was anxious to play a game, I was looking forward to playing a game. After making all the tournament reports, I really haven't been anxious to make another report. So I've been sitting on this for a couple weeks, and thought I would go ahead and make it. So anyway, I call this Night Fight because one, this is a Skype game. It was played, at night, probably 8 o'clock at night till about midnight. And the way the lighting worked, the lighting was dim enough that I felt the need to use the flash. And when I used the flash, these pictures turned out to where it looks like the game is taking place at night, uh, maybe with some torchlight or something. I don't know. So it didn't look like this in person, but that's the way the pictures turned out, and it actually I think is kind of cool. So I'm playing against Mr. Splicer 3, who is a YouTube fan, and he just contacted me, wanted to play a Skype game. I said absolutely, whenever we can work it out. It was really the kind of game I was looking forward to and needing because I mean tournaments they're fun, but they are competitive, and a game like this just for fun. Obviously, using two of my armies, I actually put together both lists. He wanted to play Empire. My initial thought was, hey, if you beat me, great, and if I beat you, and it's because your list was soft, I apologize. You know, that's just what I did. So that's what it looks like overall. This is kind of looking at from my point of view. Actually, both points of view are my point of view. So there's a cannon in the far left. They've got a unit of great swords with a warrior priest with a dragon helm. And I know this is not an optimal build for anybody. He's got a wizard lord level 4 heavens on the celestial hurricanum, and that's another one I don't think I would do again. I think I would just have the wizard lord separate. I have no model for the wizard lord. He hasn't been assembled yet. And the painting that's been done on the hurricanum I did a couple months ago. I painted the inside of it, the library side, which was kind of fun. I'm kind of a bibliophile, but yeah, I haven't taken the effort to paint the rest of it. Anyway, some handgunners in front of him, big block of halberdiers next to him. In with the halberdiers, there are two characters. There's a witch hunter and a captain battle standard bearer. And the only way you can tell the BSB is that he's got that stupid unpainted brown flag next to him. Next to that, I've got 8 inner circle knights with a warrior priest. Now, if you look at the on the front row, the far right, that horse is actually finished painting, and I'm very, very happy with how that looks. I think the metal barding on these horses is going to match the steam tank, and the steam tank isn't completely done either, but you can get a feel for how they're going to look. I think that unit's going to look really pretty and look nice compared, when it's next to the steam tank. They have lances, of course, and then I've got some outriders, or he has some outriders, I guess. So starting on, I guess, the left as you're facing it, there's a trebuchet, some knights errant with the errantry banner, big block of men-at-arms with the damsel, just a level 2 priest, level 2 with beasts with the prayer icon. Some knights of the realm with my battle standard bearer. He's got the 2-up rerollable. There's a gap behind the woods. That's where my peg knights were, and then I vanguarded them over here. So I have knights of the realm with my general, some more men-at-arms, some questy knights, dirty, grungy, questy knights, a trebuchet behind him, and my unit of peg knights after vanguard. So this is Empire turn one. He really doesn't move much. He vanguarded his outriders up so he could shoot. I think they shot at my knights errant and didn't do any wounds. Otherwise, everything is as you can see. And really, nothing of significance happened. I mean, I didn't take any pictures, and so he had, the steam tank and a cannon shooting, and I think it really either didn't kill anything or maybe just a knight. So we go to Bretonnian turn one. Really don't know what to do with the Peg Knights. I want to go after his Hurricanum and his cannon, but the problem is, how do I get close enough to where he can't charge me, but I can charge him? So that's the reason they are where they are. Otherwise, I moved up, as you can see. Really, nothing of significance happened. I got a buff on one of my units, +1 strength and toughness, and we go to Empire turn two. And yeah, again, he opts not to charge. I was kind of hoping he would charge his great swords at my peg knights. I was going to hold, and then I was kind of assuming he would overrun into my men at arms, and I could flank charge him with my general's unit and my questy knights. And it's probably for the best that it worked out the way it did. In hindsight, that probably was not a good idea. During the magic phase, he gets a spell off on the Peg Knights, uh, the Ice Shard Blizzard, and then he gets a Comet off, and I marked that with one of my old Beastman tokens. And then while doing that, he miscast, and I think it was a big template strength 10, and anyway, put a wound on the wizard and a wound on the Hurricanum himself. Those are the two different kinds of tokens there. And then his cannons open up and start picking off some of my Knights of the Realm with my BSB. And during the shooting, I assume these are his handgunners. Pick on my Peg Knights and pick off one of them. And we go to Bretonnian turn 2. This was a make or break turn right here. And, whenever I use these white arrows, usually that means that's where somebody tried to charge and they failed. This was such an epic fail. So first off, my Peg Knights charge his handgunners and they flee. They redirect into the Celestial Hurricanum, and I need nothing. I mean, I was so close to that darn thing, and they have a 10-inch fly movement. So then I declared a charge from my Questing Knights to the Hurricanum. They would have needed an 8. I do remember that. And I thought, this is brilliant. I can, they fit side by side. Because of that, one of them will overrun maybe into the cannon. The Questing Knights will get away from his great swords. I mean, the way we deployed is I deployed first, and he deployed in reaction to me. So, my great swords were going to do nothing against his great. My great weapon Questing Knights were going to do nothing against his great sword. So I was thinking, charge the Hurricanum, get out of their way, and really put a kink into his plans. Well, the Peg Knights failed their charge. I mean, I don't remember what they rolled, but it couldn't have been anything more than a 1, and a 2, or something like that. Just absolutely miserable. The Questing Knights actually rolled high enough, but they couldn't get past the Peg Knights, so they just got stuck back there. Meanwhile, I took both of my Knight units, Knights of the Realm unit, at his Knights, hoping they'd both make it in, but at least one make it in, so that I get the strength bonus in the charge, and they both failed. And that's going to hurt, because now he has a pretty good chance of countercharging me. My Knights Errant at the very top charged his Outriders who fled, and I don't remember if I tried to redirect to a steam tank or if I just tried to catch them. Whatever. They failed charge, as you can see up there. Yeah, I was so mad at those Peg Knights. Ah, darn you. Here's a look behind his lines. So he fled with his. It looks like his Outriders are all dead. They're not. They just wouldn't stand up. I've got metal models on, not glued on plastic horses. So, and then his handgunners who fled. And then the comet goes off, and I think I was rolling for the comet since it was my magic phase, and I rolled like box cars for the distance, so it hit everything you see from my Knights Errant at the top all the way to my General's unit at the bottom. It only killed 2 or 3 knights per unit, but that just adds up really quickly. So killed at least 5 men-at-arms and at least 7 knights, and that just tore me up. Now, we did have a question about this, the +1 strength and toughness buff on my Knights of the Realm. Does that go away before or after the comet hits? And we weren't sure, and I said, my guess is it's the player whose turn it is choice, because they both happen at the same time, and so I choose to leave the toughness buff up, and it didn't really matter. But if anybody knows a ruling on that, I would appreciate it. So things really turned badly for the Bretonnians on turn 2. Not only would failing the charges mean I didn't get the matchups I wanted, but making those charges would have taken these knights out of reach of that comet. And boy, it made me pay. So we get an Empire turn 3. His great swords charge my Peg Knights. I flee. He redirects to my Questing Knights, and they flee. There was nothing to be gained there. His Halberdiers charge my Men-at-Arms. I don't know what he needed. It didn't seem like it was that much, like a 7 or an 8 maybe, and he failed that. And his Knights got the charge on my General's unit, and that's going to hurt. I mean, that unit has a Warrior Priest in there, so they're hitting on 4s, but wounding on 2s, strength 6 with a 3 modifier. They get to reroll rolls to hit because there's a Warrior Priest, and all it takes in the magic phase is 1 buff, and they'll be rerolling rolls to wound. And that unit is going to put the hurt on my unit. If you look at the very top, the steam tank charged the Knights Errant. Yeah, here's a picture of my fleeing knights. And so the only thing I'm hoping here is I'm going to keep my general out of a challenge. I'm hoping he does what he did in the last tournament, and that is hit everything and roll sixes for all my wounds and just kill four knights outright. I think the odds of that happening are pretty low, but if he can do that, I have a chance. And there's the steam tank. Yeah, that's goodbye. I mean, the knights are never going to kill that thing. And let's see, behind his lines, both his outriders and his handgunners rally. And somehow he puts a wound in my trebuchet. I really just don't remember how. I think it was a. My assumption is it was a cannon. Then he just got unlucky with the rolls, only doing one wound. He did just fine against this unit. Um, yeah, I don't remember how these wounds were happening. Um, anyway, this unit is getting weaker and weaker. And at the end of the turn, it looks like this. So if you look at the right side, those are his knights. They have totally wiped out my Knight of the Realm unit. The only thing left is my general. So at least he has a chance of rallying, but rallying isn't going to do him any good. And as you can tell, he didn't open up any can of anything. There's one wound on his warrior priest, and other than that, all of his knights are still alive. If you look at the very top, his steam tank crashed into my knights errant. Look at that. There is not a single knight left, only my champion. So I thought the steam tank did very, very well up there. So we go to Bretonnian turn 3. This time, I think the game is probably sunk, but at least this felt very, very gratifying. Just pounded into this halberdier unit. I have the ward save on the men-at-arms who's in the flank, and these men-at-arms in the front have a +1 strength and toughness buff, or they get it during my magic phase. My battle standard bearer is protected from cannon shooting because he's in combat, thank goodness. And yeah, we were kind of worried about, could I remove their steadfast? But in hindsight, I'd have to really be unlucky not to. He's got the Captain BSB and his Witch Hunter, but they're not going to help a whole lot, except to hold the line. So that's probably the bigger worry. My Peg Knights do not rally. My Questy Knights do. So again, this time I'm hoping that I can get in a challenge with my general, and then hopefully just do some wounds and roll lucky on my break test. If I can hold up, then I can charge in their flank with my Questy Knights, and I might be able to turn that one around. But again, I just need to get lucky with my general and roll some sixes to wound so I can get past his armor save. After combat down here, yeah, we tore him up. So the men at arms here in the middle, they restrained and reformed to face the flank of the great swords. And my other unit of men at arms and the battle standard bearers unit both overran, ran down the halberdiers and hit the outriders. I want to say that my knights tried to restrain and failed because I wanted to charge his handgunners. Or maybe not, because now it's Empire turn 3. Maybe it would have been smarter to do what I did. Who knows? So his great swords apparently are not very afraid of my men-at-arms. So they did a swift reformed and just walked up as close as they could. I mean, this reminded me of like a schoolyard pre-fight where the two boys kind of stand nose to nose and puff up their chest. Yeah, the great swords said, "I fear you not, men-at-arms," and they just walked right up to him. His steam tank comes barreling into the rear of my men-at-arms unit. Which is certainly not ideal. And then, yeah, his knights charge my general. During the shooting phase, he puts a cannonball through the flank of my Questy Knights, kills all three of the knights it hits. Of course, they have no ward save. And then they fail their panic test. And so now my brilliant idea of holding up with my general and charging in the flank with the Questy Knights, yeah, that's not going to happen. So after combat over here, all the outriders die. My men-at-arms reform to face the steam tank. My knights reform to face his handgunners. And general dies. Yeah, he didn't have much of a chance. Basically, my opponent just refused a challenge, and he just got a bunch of re-rollable strength 6 hits. It's tough to stand up to that. Now, if you see all those tokens laying around, one's a wound marker. The frenzied minotaur head is the reroll rolls to wound, and the yellow shield broke off of a knight, so I was using it as the 5-up ward save. So he took no chances with this unit tearing my general up. So we go to Bretonnian turn 4. My men-at-arms thought that it might be unwise to charge the great swords. So what I did is I really just backed up with him a little bit. And my thinking here is that if he charges, I'm just going to flee and hopefully just pop right through that steam tank and get out of his charge arc and just save those points. My knights charge as handgunners. The Yeah, so my knight errant doesn't rally. He needs snake eyes to rally, but I was kind of teasing Mr. Splicer 3 that I'm probably going to get those points at the end of the game because he's so far away from the table edge. I've got two more turns. I'll likely not rally, but there's a chance I won't roll high enough to get off the board. So certainly a disadvantage. The steam tank's awesome, but that is one disadvantage is if you really can't capture full points by yourself. So let's see. Bretonnian turn 4. Yeah, my Question Knights rally, but there's nothing they could do except what you see here. My Trebuchet decides to blow itself up. I get the Curse of Honor here off on this unit, so now if he comes into me, at least he should lose a third of the unit. And that gives me at least a chance, and he'll be -1 to hit. So that gives me a chance to win a War of Attrition using my men-at-arms. Not much of a chance, though. After combat, my knight unit is facing his cannon to get some justice. But again, this is Bretonnian turn 4. So Empire, he's going to get to shoot at me, and I don't get a Lookout Sir roll with my Battle Standard Bearer. So I'm going to take a cannonball in the face. He just has to put the marker directly in front of his cannon and roll, and has a very good chance of just plowing through my BSB. I can hope that he fails to wound, or I make a ward save, or he doesn't, or he rolls a 1 in terms of number of wounds. Other than that, my BSB's dead. And you can tell, the men-at-arms with the damsel are locked into the steam tank, and I don't think we're going anywhere. Empire turn 5. Not only does do his great swords not fear my men-at-arms, he doesn't fear the Curse of Honor here. So he charges in. He loses, I assume, about a third of the unit, and I was happy about that. Now, the Celestial Hurricanum, my guess is going to be close enough to give a +1 to hit, but he's going to have a -1 to hit, but he has the darn Warrior Priest. So they'll be hitting on 3s, rerollable, wounding on 2s. I won't get a save. Even with that, he's going to tear me up. My biggest hope is that I will be steadfast, but I don't think I have any knight nearby, so I'll be steadfast on a 5 or 6 rerollable. So there's another look. And oh yes, his knights charge my trebuchet, and so what they did is they just wheeled so they come in contact with it, but now when they kill it, they can overrun and hit the flank of my Questy Knights. So goodbye, Questy Knights. His cannon aims at my BSB and then blows himself up. Awesome. Thank you very much. I will take it. Yeah, Trebuchet dies very quickly, and the Questy Knights are not in a good position. Yeah, this is just on his turn he kills a bunch of guys, and I'm steadfast. Or he kills it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. This is just grinding. After combat, yeah. If you look, I think I killed 2 of his guys in combat, and he killed significantly more than 2. So he did have the 5-up ward save on him from the Warrior Priest prayer. But yeah, so I was steadfast 5 rerollable. I failed, but luckily I did get away. We go to Bretonnian turn 5. My knight errant speeds up. I think I rolled an 11. I'm like, darn it. So I've got one more turn. If he Now he needs to roll low to stay on the board. My men-at-arms rally. I pull my BSB. Now that I don't need to charge a cannon, I couldn't see the Hurricanum, so I just pull the BSB out so that both of those peasant units can get a reroll. I reform the knights. I just stand and take it with the Questy Knights. Why not? I could flee and he'd catch me. I'd go off the board. And he just destroys them. And there's the slow grind of the steam tank. And then, yeah, there's Empire turn 6. On his turn, he moves his knights up. I think we might have even pulled the knights up closer than they would have been, just so we could get them in the picture, because they're out of the game. They're not going to be able to reach anything. So on his turn 6, I think I got the Curse of Honor here off on his greatswords again. So instead of charging them to the men-at-arms, he charged his Warrior Priest out against my BSB, which I thought was a pretty cool move. I don't see him being able to win my BSB. I've got a 2-up rerollable, but you never know. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty epic. And then what I didn't see coming, I didn't see it at all, is a Celestial Hurricanum could see and hit the flank of my knight unit. And I can't believe I didn't see that. So, yeah, very poor positioning on the knight's part. After combat, the Hurricanum kills at least one of the knights errant. I break from combat. If he didn't kill the standard bearer, he died when we fled, but my champion got away. As long as I don't roll too high, I'm not going to go off the table, and I'll keep all those points, which is kind of funny. His steam tank is grinding down that men-at-arms unit, and we're in kind of a big pillow fight. He had a charge against me. I had a banner, so it was really more of who could put a wound through, and of course neither of us could. So good. Bretonnian turn 6. I don't rally with neither realm, but he doesn't get off the table either, so that was kind of fun. I decided to take my men-at-arms into the great swords because you never know. Why not? I think I'm going to lose that, but I've got a magic phase. I might get a lucky buff off. And after combat, yeah, I don't know remember if I even won that combat or not. It doesn't matter. We both stuck around. I put a wound on the warrior priest, but I couldn't break him, and so we stuck there. And overall, the knight errant ran off the table, so that's kind of a bummer. So really, everything that's alive is in this picture, and it's a devastating win for the Empire because the Bretonnians just don't have many points on the table. So, and it looks like my damsel's gone. I bet she blew herself up or something. So anyway, that was the game. It was kind of fun to see the Empire with this build especially, but just kind of a fluffy build, do so well. Really impressed with those knights, Strength 6 Inner Circle knights with a warrior priest. Those guys can go to town. They are fantastic, much better than Knights of the Realm, especially with the reroll being Strength 6 instead of Strength 5. Yeah, very impressed with them. So anyway, there was the knight fight. Real fun game. Hope you enjoyed it.